So specialist organisations continue to buy the specialist equipment, and we make sure that those procurement organisations are really good. But central government departments that are buying the same stuff as everyone else, and stuff that can be bought on and services and goods that are appropriate to a national market or an international market, perhaps buy and let agreements on behalf of the rest of the public sector. And so we've got a top-level thing whereby contracts and so on are being let by some central government departments that already have strong expertise. They may need a little bit of reinforcement. And also they're responsible for letting the very biggest contracts. So it's not just framework agreements, but it's the very biggest contracts. Below that level, we can then have regional procurement organisations that will handle procurement on behalf of regions, and whether it's the NHS, local government or non-departmental public bodies, because there's so much similarity in the spend. And we'll have that sort of expertise, and again, they will do some pretty large regional contracts. And below that, there may be a need for sub-regional centres, and below that, perhaps there'll need to be some sort of local procurement. But it starts to provide a reasonable structure. I wouldn't eliminate some of the functional procurement organisations existing that support, say, further education, but I think that that sort of structure would be something that the private sector could deal with much more easily. There'd be an assurance that one could that processes and procedures would be the same, and it would be an organisation that could be held accountable for delivering of savings and for delivering government procurement policies on sustainability, because with the Glover report and everything else, there's still a lack of accountability. A lot of money being spent on trying to create initiatives for sustainability, but no real accountability for delivery. So that's the basis, and it does seem to have achieved quite a lot of attention. The National Audit Office report used quite a lot from it, but I'd have perhaps liked to have seen it go a bit further. And as Ken says, this is really the way things are moving. And I think we're going to see a complete restructuring of public sector procurement in the next few years, but also we're going to see much greater expectations as to what it can deliver. I think we will move away from measurement. Basically, what finance directors are going to be interested in is bankable cash savings, and saying that you've saved 10% on a stationery agreement, I don't think impresses anyone, but telling a finance director that in a core area of spend that perhaps represents 10% of that organisation's purchase spend, you've saved 20%, that's bankable, that's cash, and that will satisfy finance directors. And the way you'd operate this new approach is to actually have service level agreements that define what the procurement program organisation was going to deliver, and in return for what it would require information and so on. So there'd be accountability, one would know the cost, one would have a service level agreement defining what the outcomes and outputs are going to be. And as I say, one would also have accountability in the sense that the government would be able to hold individuals accountable for whether or not policies were delivered, and finance directors would actually be able to hold people accountable for whether or not savings are being delivered. So that's where I think we're going to go with procurement. It will facilitate really the introduction of the practical application of sustainability policies. And I'm going to finish now